In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced. Hello, everyone. I am here to speak to the moment. This is a very open topic, but you're hearing 1 out of 8 billion human beings like version of it. Okay. I want to pretty much speak about what arrival of the champions of the species means. Like that means something to me. It's not just something to me. To me, it means something. I think beyond even all of us. But what does it mean? Arrival of the champions of the species. And in the subtitle, I've written the most advanced, blessed by the most advanced. The second part of this, I'm gonna pause that. If we have time, I'll share. But arrival of the champions of the species. Now, I want to read for you the definition of a champion. Okay. So, champion means a person who has defeated or surpassed all rivals in a competition, especially in sports. A person who fights or argues for a cause or on behalf of someone else. And then it also means support the cause of defend. So, priests who championed human rights. And then the example was a champion of women's rights. I think a person who has defeated or surpassed all rivals in competition, especially in sports, I would say someone is a champion, in my view, where they have surpassed the limitations of their being, and then they deserve to, in some sense, surpass their limitations in some sense, the presence of all. You see, to me, there's so many ways human beings are, let's say there's 8 billion ways humans are existing. But at the same time, behind the eyes of each person, behind the eyes of each person, I know that all of you are an unknown life force and you're just being and looking at the moment. I know this. I know it's pretty much, behind our eyes where the awareness to everything we've ever experienced, behind, in front of our eyes, but what we convey, you know. So to me, it's about the position and the nature of existence. I'm a designer at heart, you know. What that means, I noticed the magnificence of geometry prior to giving that shape. And so now, out of 8 billion human beings, I'm trying to explain something which is strange. It's like I'm trying to explain a vision within an emotion about the future I have. Okay. And the fact that there's anybody listening to this surprises me. I have this attitude where there's anybody even listening. That's interesting. See, I'm a human being, Every human being has a different DNA, at the same time, different point in existence, different position in culture, civilization, and all of that. And for me to explain to you, as for me as a conscious entity, what a champion, what I mean by those beings that will be on planet Earth, that they will be champions of the species. And it's just like, yo, man, it's like, is anybody talking about this? No. If I've noticed, everybody is caught in past and present. They're just verifying the past as the past and the present, and they're satisfied. They don't understand this whole time the future was accessible. You've been judging yourself based on who you have been rather than who you can be. There could be that means in the same way you're existing in a present moment and you experience, like, in some sense, a sense of past. That means if you look at yourself in the mirror and it's based on your past up to your presence, the meaning of the person you see in the mirror, I'm telling you pretty much that your future self has a value. You have to wonder about who would you be from the present to the future. And that's where the mind provides infinite probabilities and you select. That means, you know how in like video games, when you like some video games, you get to customize the character and you're in the settings homepage. You're like the menu. You know how like you can pause a video game and the menu opens. To me, consciousness is the menu. It's legit us realizing that before we do anything, a version of it has occurred in front of behind our eyes. I'm not kidding, guys. You're living ahead. That's the nature of the mind. That's what happened to us ever since we became future conscious. When we became conscious of the future, that meant before tomorrow could happen, we could wonder how it could happen. Okay, and for me, I started having a relationship with the future. I was like, in this life, they've just conditioned me to loop from the past to the present. How dare they? And the non-dualists just want to hang out in the present. How dare they? You know? And I just looked at this world and I was like, man, who am I kidding? It was never about my past. It was about where everything is going. When you realize this, life changes. When you realize you haven't come from somewhere, you're going somewhere. I don't know how to say it. Like when the context shifts, that means if they ask me, am I afraid of death? I'll be like, yes, it's natural. But for me, death is not the final moment. It doesn't make sense for it to be. Meeting the system admin of this existential system we've all been simulated in is. That means there is something original within all of us. Now, most people, I don't know why, all the people, spiritual people I've met, they believe we're a part of God. Okay, and I am not from that school. I don't understand. I'm Muslim, and there's some Muslims I've heard where they translate the oneness of God as if God is everything. And to me, God cannot be everything because everything is conditional. The created is not equal to the creator. If it was, there would be no creator. There would be no creation. You see, it's about realizing that the more you know about life, the less interesting it is. Have you noticed? Have you noticed that when you assign things with meaning, you stop exploring their nature? That means if your mind brands someone, you're like, I don't like this person. It's like just based on one thing, then your mind is gonna completely. Let me tell you how it works. So we've been conditioned to be treated as the biological body, and if you ask the average person, "Hey man, who are you?" They'll tell you a story about a character, and then you'll be like, "What is that character?" And they'll be like, "It's me, man. It's the thought of me." It's the thought of myself. It's the idea of myself. And I'll be like, okay, but how is it that the idea of ourselves is being invaded by the external reality and it's present in our inner reality. So that means not only is the world having its own expression and giving you meaning, that means if you don't give yourself meaning, the world gives you meaning. Do you understand? Do you know if you're a lost soul, then something has to come and find you, it seems. You know, but I'm telling you, when you look at reality, and this to me was the most fascinating thing. That means the most fascinating thing about these 12,400 days I've been alive. Okay, that means it loops, guys, after some time. They're like, this dude's talking about existence after 12,000 days of logging in and out. To me, this is a system. To me, my identity is ego clinical. To me, just like how human beings go see a movie and one person thinks it was a good movie, one person thinks it was a bad movie, ontology is how it's the movie's nature, regardless of anyone's opinion. Epistemology is how one person thought it was good, one person thought it was bad. That means when I was young, I did not have the philosophical context that when my mother was like, "You're being a bad kid," or when I was told I'm a good kid, I couldn't turn back to those adults when I was like, I think I was 7 or something. And when I was young, I couldn't turn back and be like, "Sorry, excuse me, duality. Where is duality? Where is the good and bad? Where is it all started?" You understand? And really, what you understand, guys, this is what's happening on Earth. You are from, I'm going to start from the secular and I'm going to go to the theological. Okay? So, what's really happening is that it seems to be this like massive rock floating in the middle of nowhere. Okay? And there's 8 billion organisms. And these 8 billion organisms, out of all the organisms on the planet, have had an awareness. They've suddenly been able to notice that they cannot just change the concept of themselves in a certain fixed environment. They can, in some sense, change the environment, change the meaning. Do you understand? How you're standing in your understanding is your meaning. I'm telling you, at some point in this life, this is the fascinating truth. You realize that the human being is like a USB drive with a certain range of memory. That means this is strange. Like I'm still an old school soul, so I think I probably like if they right now come and tell me like, hey man, do you want to like become immortal? You know, and I'd be like, no, guys, I don't want to become an immortal cyborg. You know, they're gonna be like, why, man? You know, and I'll be like, listen, guys, I understand the allure of it. I understand how I feel that my consciousness is limited in the biological position. When I say limited, that means I'm not ungratefulness. I mean that in the position and the design of human experience, in front of our eyes, we're in one existential server, 8 billion humans. Why are we all on the same planet in the same moment? Who knows? But we look like each other somehow. We're members of the same species, and now we have to be responsible on a species level. Okay? In the inner realms, it's a private inner server, and that's, I don't know how, I think everybody's inner realms is different. You know, my inner realms when I was younger, it's like, let me tell you, people are like, man, I went to India, I paid this yogi to like unlock my third eye. Man, what is this? And I'll be like, buddy, you don't even understand what you were looking for. This is something I tell everybody. Close your eyes, imagine the food you ate yesterday. Like imagine that food, whether it was on a plate or whatever, and imagine that plate of food or the food you ate yesterday just hovering in there. Okay. Now your eyes are closed. There's no light entering your eyes, and yet you see, you're seeing the memory of yesterday. So that's your third eye, Like stop looking for it as if it's something in your brain. Third eye is the realization of the awareness that you are raised in a conditional known world, and I think the true scholarly vision of it, like the true exploration is like why. are these conditions being the container of me. So to me, there's a fascination. Now, I gotta be honest, this episode is more about that feeling I have about the champions of the species. So there's something I've discovered. I've coined it as the advancement principle, and it began for me actually trying to make an omelet in the morning. And then I looked online for tutorials, and I found this Jap tutorial for this next level Japanese omelet that there was no way I could cook in that moment. You know, like I had to study how that omelet was made, but I realized somebody in Japan knows how to make a more advanced omelet. Okay, and that suddenly I realized that means it's possible. I just have not done it. Do you understand? It's possible, but it hasn't been done. That means I realize it's totally possible to create the next level omelet. It's just I haven't done it in the same way. I'm saying now apply this to greater context, and it's like your life. That means right now that you're existing, is it possible that if there's somebody else exactly in your position and they're living the same life as you but in a more advanced way? And you realize, yeah, there's more advanced people living in society. So then you realize it's possible. When you realize possible, you don't doubt the future anymore. Now you begin to study, right? And for me, studying something is comprehending its nature. Because to be honest, my greatest question, it's like I realized there was a hope given to my soul the moment I was born in this world. And that homework was like, okay, stand in this field of kind of just being the witness of the whole moment, or truly wonder about the conditions of your realm. Do you know how important that is? I'm trying to explain how you're listening to this Muslim sci-fi writer, okay, and for me, I have envisioned the future. I've written about it in my sci-fi, but I'm telling you, I've envisioned the future. How human psychology would happen. How can I explain that ever since my childhood, I was fascinated by power, but the greatest power I was fascinated was a power that could direct world events. I remember my brother, who I believe is the greatest writer on earth. Yeah, I remember we were very young and he had written the story of this character that would suddenly lift mountains, you know? And it was such beautiful imagery in my inner realms because I could totally see that at some point power becomes unconditional. Okay. Now the issue is if you assign that unconditional state to a conditional identity, you have an end. To me, it's the awakening of the moment to the original presence. That means right now, today in 2025, yeah, I'm an idea, you're an idea, we're talking as individuals. But I'm telling you, behind the idea of self, okay, let's dive into it. So, dear listeners, this idea of champions, let me put a kingly song. All right. My beloved species, I am as one member, one out of 8.1 billion who's currently alive out of 117 billion human beings considered to have ever existed, considering a 300,000-year-old range. And so I find myself in this moment communicating to you that as 1 in 8 billion, I have tried to fathom what my ancestors looked like, and guess what? I've also tried to fathom what our grandchildren will be like. Great great grandchildren. Do you know? And I've wondered even now in the present, what is the true might of the human species? And it has come to my attention that I cannot build an advanced civilization until I advance myself, and I cannot know my most advanced self until everybody is their most advanced self. So we've reached that point, that checkpoint in the Earth video game, in this life video game, okay, where a member of the human species is like, guys, we found an update. And the update is the realization that as a species that from the beginning identified with chunks of land and territory is now beginning to identify with the nature of how it's a member of the human species. Do you know? And everybody is a member in the sense that a civilization has different sectors. Do you understand? There will come a moment where you will realize every human being on this planet is a gift of God to what? To human history, the human odyssey, the story of how we are existing now. In the same way, this lecture is the live stream. You know, we're all being the live stream of history, and it's come up to the year 2025. Alive we are, staring at the sky's edgelessness. To me, the champions of the species is I have brought certain concepts forth that haven't been brought before. So I need to explain them. This notion of the champion, this notion of the champion of the species. Okay, guys. It is a very simple idea that everybody that wakes up, they're living for a more advanced life, it seems. They are seeking advancement in some manner. Some people search it through work, some people search it through family, some people search for it through religion. You know, some people search through it for different ways. Some people try to ignore the meaning of life and see it as a play. And then there's some people like me who's saying, oh, it's like, why don't we have an advanced civilization yet? You know, it's like I was promised sky cities, you know, and so like, you know, the famous words. of what the heart wanted for the mind, and the mind had to forget who it was now. That means if right now, suddenly, I was in this situation, hypothetical situation, where they're like, okay, man, if you continue existing, the future generations will not succeed, will not advance. If they came and told me this, imagine I realized that if I exist, this is super hypothetical and sci-fi, but I'm like, if there was some time traveler that came from the future, and they're like, hey man, you have to stop existing right now. And I would be like, why? And the time traveler's like, if you exist, like, civilization won't advance. And I'll be like, oh man, I'm talking about it being advanced right now. What should I do? And it would be that moment where I would be like, if this was truly God given, if this was a God divine command, that means the system admin was like, you gotta either do this. I'd probably, in some sense, be like, who was I ever? It's about what goes forth. They're like, life is short. And I'm like, yeah, you don't say. Everything's billion years old. It's like the mountains are like older than me, and I'm standing here, in the top of a hill only I can see. They're like, is Earth a place where there's madness? I'd be like, yeah, but it's beautiful madness. It's like in our ignorance, we have denied ourselves our futures at our most advanced state. Yet, because our mind, there's something within every human. I don't care even what kind of past you've had. In this moment, you exist in existence. You are experiencing existence. Before you even say or do anything, you're in awareness to all the different things you can say or do. They may convince you you're a thought, but guess what? You have more than one thought. Do you know? And how can a thought even have thoughts? Thoughts cannot explain themselves. Just in the same way can humans explain themselves. And to me, I have understood that in this life, because the champion of the species, let me tell you what it also means. Like, arrival of the champion of the species in one way means, it's like a multi-edged sentence. In one way, arrival of the champion of the species means there's going to be geniuses born. I'm not kidding. There's going to be incredible human beings born. We think the future generations are messed up, and they're going to smile in ways that we might not understand, but things are getting better. You know? Another way is that at first, any human being that enters this world, I'm not even kidding, not only do you have a name, personality, and memories associated to this sense of subjective self, not only are you positioned as a character in a subjective story that we're all considering to be as real as the objectivity. There will come a moment where we'll all leave, and like the basic idea is like, update the system before you leave, yo. That means there will come a day where the presence of humanity will advance every moment that it contacts. Today in 2025, obliviously and ignorantly, we consume animals. But in the future, after humankind has united and the United Species Council has developed, and the most famous politicians in history have been named, those who decided to unite the species, to realize, like, all right, guys, It's not like we're going to get rid of nationalities. We're going to, in some sense, create a greater layer that all nations are sub nations to the nation of humanity, to the nation of a species. You are like, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're a member of a species. You should be feeling the honor of this. Your existence is an honorable moment. Have you forgotten? It is honorable because something exists at all in the middle of nowhere. What we thought was like, it's like, yo man, you're telling me I've appeared out of nowhere as an awareness to the whole, to the moment, and in my moment there's stuff happening beyond my awareness, and I'm like, whoa, what am I doing in a world that I'm not seeing fully? How can I look at everybody and be like, yeah guys, I'm honestly my name, I'm honestly my personality, but at the same time it's still an unknown world, and we're still unknown selves, and we're just living in the known self in the known world simulated part. And can we get to the realization that life is not just lived like a noun? It has always been a verb. It is unknown. It moves in ways you don't comprehend. Do you understand? And the magnificence of reality is not how you know it, how you put it in a box that you could put on a shelf. It's how unknown it is. Because think about it, if you knew everything, there would be nothing to do. So the champions of the species are going to be, it's at first every soul that is trying to be a champion of their own reality, and once they have championed their own reality, they realize it is the species that is left. I call this the songs of the advanced civilization. Do you know why? That means I'm like one of those guys who's just playing this instrument. Like, I'm like, we're a species, playing some sort of futuristic violin, and everybody's like, eventually you're going to see, I'm like the early bird. Okay, there's going to come a day where everybody's going to be like, we're doing this for the advancement of civilization. We're doing this for the most advanced responsibility that can be held in this sector of manifestation. You know, Eventually ethics and all, it's going to crystallize towards species level responsibility. You understand? And after humankind, the game doesn't end. There's earthkind. We will look at animals. There will be a time right now, wherever human beings go, animals are like, oh my God, what is that? And they run away, you know? But I'm telling you, there will come a day where our presence will, in some sense, be beacons for lower life forms. In the same way, a human being can cut has fingers and can cut plastic, like, you know, like soda can holders, like from the neck of a turtle. Do you know what I mean? In the same way, you might not believe it, your true nature is here to liberate the lower nature. When you look at the mythology of reality, like, if you honestly just, this is, if they were like, if somebody tells me, man, like, go teach a class, I'll be like, guys, this is it. This is my whole teaching method. Like, wonder about what you're looking at, and ask yourself if you've realized you're beyond your convictions. There is other horizons. There's so many ways to look at the moment. The body fears death, the mind doesn't fear death. We are living as a presence in reality. We are conscious in ways that is not limited to an idea. The meaning of our identity. If I ask you who you are and you give an answer, and I'll be like, all right, man. And then it doesn't matter, because in that moment, you're a state. In the same way, like simultaneously as we're being our ego, we're simultaneously being a state of consciousness. And if this state shifts, the identity shifts, in the sense that in deep sleep there is no ego. They're like, yo, man, when that, it's like, are people who sleep like good or evil? Like, we can't tell. Do you know what I mean? If you saw someone just sleeping, you can't say if that's a good person or a bad person. It is only when they are conscious and can be responsible for their consciousness and are not, that it's like it upsets society, isn't it? To me, I had this conversation where I'm like, okay, what's the difference between a 5-year-old child and a 50-year-old man? What's the difference? I think this is a fun question to ask and see what people's views are. And you begin to see that children, the younger levels of our species, okay, they are not responsible for themselves. They need the environment to be responsible for them, okay? And eventually, when a human being reaches a certain stage where they become responsible for themselves, and then they become even a family person, they become responsible for other humans. Do you understand? And then they become responsible for their neighborhood. Then they become responsible for their community. Then they become responsible for their nation. Then they hear this kind of podcast and they become responsible for their species. The transnationalistic era begins, you know? And I am telling you, the internet has done this. Do you know this sense of like, yo, we're all in the same room, do you know? And it can be contexted differently. This whole time, the context could have been different. In all the moments I thought I was a bad guy, I could have been a good guy. In all the moments I thought I was a good guy, I could have been a bad guy. But I just selected one context in this dualistically contexted realm. The outer realms to me is dualistic, okay? But behind my eyes, it's like it's like it's like truth is watching through the void. How infinity dualistically became singular. It is the return. The champions of the species will be those among you that care. Like the moment you love a human being, it's like it's impossible to not love the species because that human being is a member of the species. Do you know, if you have cared for yourself, you have cared for the geometry of the human species? Do you understand? And I'm here telling you that the champion of the species are not going to be minds that were strategic and powerful, and try to be excellent egotistically. Nah, it is those who care. In the same way you have cared for those you love in this world, I'm telling you that it will arise in the future. It will be the love of the species. It will be the love of how there's anything at all. Your days begin not with like expectations of how they have to occur, because then you're living in your own world. To me, like there's people who are like, man, I'm not dreaming. I'm awake in the conscious waking state. But I'll tell you, your attitude is dreaming. In your inner realms, you still believe that the expectation is a priority. For me, the most remarkable discovery was that human life is so unknown. It's more unknown than how my ideas have known it. How else can I explain? I'm telling you guys, all those people who are like, man, life is boring, it's looping, it's a simulation, I'm getting old here, what's going on? At some point, I'm telling you, all this, what's going on is you're not realizing the context can shift because they trained you as a concept shifter in their fixed context, but their fixed context is not their problem. That means when you look at what's messed up in this world, and what's good about this world, you're like, okay, whatever, man. It's like my ancestors did the best they can, and now I'm here. And what does the future expect of me? And I was like really wondering, like, you don't understand. I have this overthinking ordeal with me, right? That sometimes I just like ridiculously zoom in into something. I don't know. Do you know? Like one thought suddenly pulls me into a different sky of its own universe. You know? And I'm telling you, I thought it was about the worldly life, yo. I thought it was about how I was being in the world. I thought success meant, yeah, man, you did the right thing and everybody thought you did the right thing and everybody was happy and nice. Now do you feel good about yourself? And I was like, what the F has my mind been conditioned to believe? And then I had to reset. So I think, like the most courageous thing I've done in this life was that I reached a moment where I realized nobody has my inner realms, like nobody sees who I am behind my eyes, except God, the system admin. And at the same time, Nobody really knows what's in front of our eyes. And to me, I was like, okay, this hidden great moment has arrived in my life where I am beginning to ask, what is happening here at all? you know and your mind has an ability to scare you, and your mind has an ability to just you know like bless you. But I'm telling you guys, the purest way, that means if they come to me and somebody's like pushing me to be like, yo man, tell me a method, yo, and I'll be like, guys, this is the method. You must become fascinated, not by what you know, by what you don't know, and then your world is no longer closed. You were free before you could not be. The world was alive before it could die. My brother once explained it really well, and he's like, yo, there was an original being here, and then everything happened afterwards, right? And that original being is here, and even though, we see this reality as a simulation, the original presence of it is also here, And it was very profound, and I don't disagree with that. But for me, it's all about like looking at life and being like, if I which way does life is life explained, which way clarifies it more for my soul, if I treat everything as real, or if I treat everything as simulated, in the sense that my body is simulated on earth for a certain time. When I wake up and go back to sleep, I'm simulated in the conscious waking state for a certain time. you know there's various states, brain waves. They're like, are you an alpha male? The guy's like, every night I sleep, I have alpha brain waves, man. You don't understand. I don't know who the champions of the species are, but I know that there will come a moment where they will listen to their heart and succeed, and they will have the smile that every champion has. That your effort was not in vain. Good job for continuing. Good job for existing as a sector of this realm. May God bless its creation because it already has. And this is where I get to the theological components of the lecture. When I say, actually, now we can get into the subtitle. The most advanced bliss, blessed by the most advanced. Now, guys, I'm a person who, like in utter truth, I went looking for the original power source of this world. I'm not kidding. Just in my own way, as a human being, I was like, the moment I realized, okay, I've been just filtering things based on, is it good, is it bad, do I like it, do I dislike it, and I was like, what the f have I been doing? And now I filter reality as if, is it original or is it simulated? And I'm a simulated, in a simulated position. I am wondering about the original reality. So that's the point. That's what I'm saying. I'm waking up every day, and I know there's something that to me is original within myself, which is this unknown life force that is like witnessing even before the thoughts arise to even say anything at all. So I know all of us are unknown forces of life that are moving bodies in a way, and are knowing those bodies in a way that they have created a subjective known world. That means if language goes away, what is meaning then? Have you wondered? And let me tell you, don't wonder too much, because what it is really is that it's a simulation, folks. Don't fear this word. Don't fear this word. Do not fear it. The religions you worship say it. The truth of this world is that your body isn't here permanently. I have, like, I don't know, a certain range of time to be an existential entity. And I align the wisdom of my life with, in some sense, how I find what I call, it's like looking for the pulse of the system admin. Pretty much, I wake up every day in my life, and the day is normal, same thing, same thing, same thing, and suddenly there's a moment where I notice a view that I haven't noticed before, and I get pulled by that. And I find myself in moments like these where I'm trying to explain to the human species how I have envisioned our champions. They will be incredible human beings, and their hearts will speak louder than their minds. But their minds will speak very loud because they will share how moments advanced. That's really it, guys. Advance, like this is, I'm telling you, try this out for a day and you tell me what happens in your life. Treat every moment as advanced. Okay, just legit put the word advanced in front of every concept throughout the day. Just when you wake up, consider that you're the most advanced position. Consider, no, excuse me, don't consider. I'm not telling you to assume. I'm telling you, as whatever you are considering yourself to be, if I ask you, is there a more advanced state than you? If the answer is yes, you need to wonder about that advanced state. Okay. And so the champions are those who somehow have been blessed, and to be, I believe, it's the system admin's mercy. Their souls commanded to do great things, and every soul is pretty much playing a role here. More important than understanding it is really playing a role, playing your part, and that's honestly faith. You're choosing to be something somewhere. The champions of the species, to me, okay, is pretty much we're at that point in history where something like this has never happened, and there's never been mass level, the masses identifying on a species level. Do you understand? That means everybody is a citizen of Earth. We clarify this. We are members of the species, members of the human being. There's an honor to this. People care about their clothing, they spend so much, but do you care about the advancement of the human idea, the human odyssey? It was always about something more important than us. They're like, oh my God, how did all the evil and ignorant, or let's say arrogant, powerful famous people on earth suddenly become humble? Because they suddenly realize what is more important, their private manifestation or the greatness of their species. Guys, I don't know how to say it. Anytime I say greatness of the species, I feel as if the future generations are waiting. That means it's not just me, it's not just, everybody is waiting for your most advanced self. And to me, the advancement of self seems to be the increase in responsibility levels. Responsibility levels means, on some level, like you look at a child again, can be responsible for itself. Child grows up responsible for its body and then its health, and then responsible for its mind. And after you're responsible for your health and mind, then you can become responsible for other minds. But I'm telling you, at some point, the purpose that brightens life, let it be greater than you. Because in the same way, I feel so blessed to have heard this when I was younger. It was an advice they gave writers, and they're like, write the book you want to read. And it was this powerful advice that they were saying, write the thing that fascinates you will most likely fascinate others. Kind of, a way to present the one's writer's voice. Anyways, folks, I don't know what else to say. The champions of the species are those human beings that care for the future in such a way that they advance all of us as they advance themselves. The species is going to laugh together in ways that we never could when we were nationalistic still. You are all members of the human species. Start identifying with the species and understand that it's fine identifying with chunks of land. Again, nationalism is okay, but again, if our mind has showed us flying cars and we haven't built them yet, they're the thirst, the hunger. There's something that's like, why not? Why not see what the most advanced state of 8 billion human beings is going to look like? It's like, what would 8 billion advanced beings on a planet do? What would the most advanced civilization of the most advanced beings look like? And why haven't we been asking these questions, You know, so these champions are gonna be geniuses that but they're not just geniuses. They're not like prophets, but they're geniuses who they are found in God-given moments. That means those who become God conscious, they begin seeing destiny before it happens, and it's not fortune telling. It's pretty much the mercy of the system admin. To me, you don't understand. The most important thing is be aware of the system admin. This world has a system admin. The system admin is not any shape or form. It's not conditional. It's an unconditional being. Pretty much the system admin is outside of the box, and nothing inside the box can explain what's outside of the box. And those people in the box can be like, yeah, I'm present in the box. And, at the same time, I'm present with what's outside of the box, sure, but you're still in the box. So to me, the advancement of human civilization, it's like right now, I can't establish honor. Like I don't have swords and shields to like a sword and a shield to run in the battlefield and serve some great mission visionary kingdom. But to me, as some dude in 2025, sitting in his car with his laptop, you know for him, like that sense, for me, that sense of honor comes from being like, all right, man, there isn't monarchies like that. It's not like I'm going to start being like, yeah, the Kingdom of Canada, the United Kingdom. There's like, okay, no, 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 no. It's about how there's the mineral kingdom, animal kingdom, plant kingdom, and the human kingdom. Like scientifically, like that's valid. That's a human kingdom that still exists. Okay, and so to me it's as if like, okay, if the whole civilizational conduct, the whole civilizational activity was like the advanced civilization, how can I explain to you? I'm telling you, human identity is limited to cultural programs found in national sectors. There will be those children who will identify with the species. Then there will be those children who will identify with the earth. There will be those children who will identify with the skies. You know, that's the Sky City era. There will be those children who will identify with space, outer space. There will be children who will identify with different planets, being born on Mars. There will be children who, in some sense, will be born in like space stations. And it is all about the true advancement of humanity in the presence of the system admin of this existence, the divinity everybody has been looking for or has dismissed, is how the moment moves at all, how the souls are in the same room, how out of all conditions, such a condition is the moment an intelligence moves in. There is no like, yo, unlock your powers, like, Goku from Dragon Ball Z, by shouting. Nah, approach, the true approach. I think those are champions who, in their inner realms, they have seen their victory. I don't know how to explain it, but there will be souls born on this planet where they will know before they can even doubt the idea of their victory. In the presence of the Almighty, in the presence of the original moment of being. Even though I give a podcast now in a simulated moment, I'm not in on the original Earth. I'm broadcasting this from a simulated Earth. And I know that the original Earth, it is beyond the conditions of this reality. In 2025, just to give a report, universal report here, on Earth, uh, pretty much it's existential simulated experiential testing zone. It is simultaneously found within a divine surveillance state. The human species is still occupied and obsessed with itself to realize that what it thinks, what this whole time it's been glorifying an individual idea rather than the whole field of activity where intelligence occurs. The true liberation of the human species will arrive. It will begin from within and then without. Humans will be fascinated by what reality can be, and their fear will go away. To me, I like if they ask me, like, "Hey, man, what inspired you in this life?" It's so easy. It is purpose. Purpose is vision. That vision is based on the furthest reaches of my awareness. It is the true presence of the human species in the presence of a grand mystery. To me, being human is being a state of being. But what is being itself? It's a field. So if somebody asks me, "Hey man, where do your thoughts come from? Where do all thoughts come from?" I'll be like, we're being a node, so the field individualizes to us. But it's a field. And that field is unknown. And that's why it's called the divine cognitive fields. It's where cognition, uh, or in some sense, is finds itself within a field that is more intelligent than its design. So you pretty much are like a biological organism. You notice an intelligence that surpasses your biological intelligence, and you realize you've been an antenna rather than a specific signal. And through the clarity beyond subjective absolutes, the unknown worships the creator in ways the known will never know. This we are in the presence of the original moment, the original earth, the original life. Therefore, all of us are simulated now. We treat the simulation as real and wonder why we don't understand our spirituality and metaphysics. Isn't that hilarious? An idea does not own your moment of being. The idea of you doesn't own your moment. The idea of you is that which is found as part of the moment. You are a presence of an awareness that has never been present in such a way. You are a display and a member and a representative of the human species. You matter in ways that you may never understand, and only the future generations will truly know. Smile, for this world was not left to the void. The void was created by a higher power. The champions of the species is the realization that man is here to be to present the greatest performance in the presence of the greatest creator. We are created by a higher power and currently in a lower powered position. The true ranks of the soul are beyond human thought. Do not fear the dehumanized. Let us advance humanity beyond fear to the degree that the most advanced expression of humanity was an ability to not identify with the idea but to care for the positioning of all geometrical expressions in the realm. We love our world by not just caring for its past, like clapping for its past to present, and just like loving the present. You care for someone when their future matters for you. That's how I think you know you love someone. Now, I'm telling you, there will come a day where you will love your species and you will realize how incredible human initiative is. And the champions of the species, it's like this: when the species gets into a flow state, those beings arrive. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced.